On the Bruce Dickinson topic, if you guys ever see each other, do you ever talk about flying and being pilots together?
Oh, absolutely. I love Bruce Dickinson. I've known him for years, when he was still in Samson.
That's right, since the girl days.
And he used to come out, and because his girlfriend, or his wife, later his wife, was a huge girl fan. And, he was always welcome. He was, he sort of frowned on us for the same reason exactly the same reason I said, he loves Iron Maiden and all that stuff, but we musically we were different, but we had a lot in common. We're both English schoolboys, like sport, but not like boring sport, but and love to fly. And I'm very impressed with Dickinson, I must say. He struck me when I first met him as somebody that really had his shit together. And he did it. He really did, and he beat cancer. And he's just, I think he's amazing. I mean, easily, the best thing about that band. But I still can't take more than a song. It's just like, where's the bar?
Now, being a big Queen fan, how was it meeting Brian May in the Queen days?
Always, I've run into him so many times. He's always been super nice, super cool, and he remembers. He's got the memory of an elephant. I met Freddie Mercury once. It didn't go very well. It was in a nightclub in London, and I was on a staircase. There was a staircase connecting a restaurant to the bar, and I was just happened to be standing at the top of the staircase overlooking the bar, like the disco. And standing next to it, and it was just me and Freddie, and I was like, oh my God. And I didn't notice at first. And so I turned and I was like, Freddie. Oh. I said, it's such an honor to meet you. I am absolutely, you have no idea, I'm the biggest fan. I love you, I love your band. And I said, we love your band so much that we called it Girl, as a kind of homage to Queen. Whenever everyone said, well, that's a female term, and I didn't explain it that much. But we called ourselves Girl after Queen. And he looked at me with the most arrogant stare, and he turned around with his big goofy teeth, and he looked down his nose at me, and he said, how original. He had the terrible speech impediment, turned his head, and fucked right off. And not so much as, didn't want to, nothing whatsoever to do with me, didn't want to talk to me, didn't want to be seen dead standing next to me, and ran and walked off. And he probably saved my life that night, because I love Freddie and Queen so much. Who knows? Who knows? So I would like to have been friends, but not that close. It was an asshole. But Roger Taylor's great. Stole my girlfriend. Married and had kids and still married together. That's good. And Brian, of course, is always totally charming and quietly spoken and just awesome guy. And of course now he's a doctor of astrophysics, if you please. All those guys were incredibly smart. And see, that was the other band. We loved Queen, we loved the Cars, we loved Japan, because every song they put on a record, every song was different. Mm-hmm. Every Iron Maiden song's the same, every AC/DC song's the same. Every most bands, they're all very one-dimensional. But Japan, Queen, and Girl, Cheap Trick, we're not.
You guys?
And us, yeah.
Especially Hollywood Vampires. I mean, I found you. There's lots of diversity down there.
I like that. It's important, but it can bite you. Because you'll get people in the labels say, "Well, we don't know how to market it. We don't know what kind." It just makes it difficult. But oh well.
Now, when you were a child, you wrote a letter to David Bowie in the Ziggy Stardust period. Did he ever write you back?
No.
No.
Nah. Not much of a story there.
Now, while working at the Demolition Site at the end of Girl, and the co-workers foreman not hearing of your journey around the world, did the foreman ever respond to your postcard you sent him on your tour in Japan because they didn't believe that
Right?
you were touring and doing all this stuff.
That's right. I was working on a demolition site pretty close to where I lived. I used to get up in the morning and ride my bicycle over there, and I was working, with like Irish, like labor workers. They even had, some of the guys were on prison release, and these were some hard motherfuckers. These were really, but they were all really nice. And I had my long hair and I was like, they were talking. I was like, yeah, I'm a rock star, and they're like, yeah, sure you are, of course you are. Yeah, no, I'm going to Japan. Yeah, of course you are, mate. Of course you are. No, I mean it was a temporary job, and the foreman, they were a great guy. I mean, he'd fire me. I get fired for something. I built a fire and it was too high, and they had to call the fire department to douse it out. So he fired me, and then I came back the next day, and like nothing happened. It was fine. Yeah, they were like that, and I was like, they really didn't believe me because I'd show up on this rickety old bicycle, and so yeah, I did have to send them a card after, and I never saw them again. But yeah, true story.
So when Ellie Guns made it, they heard of you then?
I don't know. I mean, they weren't really musically inclined people. More like bank robbers.
Now, how did you get into the Canadian show, Trailer Park Boys, that I know you love?
Oh, my girlfriend Kayla turned me onto that, and I do love it. And I recently watched the... what was it? They redid the movie for when they put they get the security guard, the guy who says he's a colonel, and they seal it off and they keep Ricky out, and it's just so funny. I love it. I do.
I know they've had Sebastian Bach on there before. Alex Lifeson, Brian Vollmer of Helix.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they seem like, it seems like a really fun thing, and it's very spontaneous. It seems like they're making it up as they go along. It doesn't seem, I think they basically write a skeleton of an idea, and when they start filming, they just riff with it.
Now, the live city A Night on the Strip featured very little of you talking from the stage, which was kind of strange. Looking back, what do you think of this CD?
I hate it. It was Mike Varney wanted us to do a live part of our contract, to put something live out. So we recorded a whiskey show, and he's a born again Christian, and he was very offended by my language. To the extent that if there was a curse while I was singing, he bleeped it out. So it's a one thing to not use something, fuck this or whatever, during the intro of a song.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing could be used because he deemed that it was inappropriate for Christian sensitivities. And this is the guy that produced "Fuck Like a Beast."
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
But no, it's all part of his turned over a new leaf, and so I'd be in the middle of like Never Enough, beep. It was so unnecessary to do that.
The version I have, the swears are completely cut right out.
Yeah.
So you don't even know what's being said.
Yeah, no, I know. That was nothing to do with us. It was a very uptight, born again Christian record company guy, mm-hmm. who was helped the band. I mean, the records that we did with him were good, but I don't think he really got it. I really don't. And when we did part company, I was actually glad that we didn't have to do another record with him, because he was just such a. He's a good guy, and he's but it's just, let's just say we're not compatible.
Fair enough. In upstate New York in 1990, a youth minister wanted to cancel an Ellie Guns show. Now, you guys have never been Wasp or Marilyn Manson or anything that crazy. What was his reason for wanting to cancel an Ellie Guns show?
Probably the same thing as Mike Varney, you know. It just offended their sensibility, and it was something that he would maybe, you know, pat himself on the back for, or his congregation would be like, good for you. We keep that heavy metal music away from our sensitive children's ears. I don't know. You know, and all that always backfires, you know. That always gives us more publicity, and you know, it guarantees we're going to sell out if something like that happens.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly, more publicity. Now, Cocked and Loaded sold huge and was a fantastic album. Some people didn't like the album cover. Did retailers ever ask you, or Mercury ever asked you to do a censored cover? Because I've never seen a censored cover of it, which is great, and there shouldn't be one.
You know, well, because it's got a girl riding a pistol. That was, you know, Maxine Miller was our artist of choice for all the, you know, from the first record on, after the first record. And it was, you know, you know, it would be different if it was, the girl was like being squashed underneath the butt of the gun. She's sitting on it. She's riding it. She's laughing her ass off. She's having a good time. I don't see a problem there. But of course, you know, it was that time in the PMRC,
Typical, right?
you know, and so they were just, you know, they were on point. They were looking for anything. And so that was, they were like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, let's give these guys a hard time. But no, we never did an alternative artwork for that.
It's nice to see a few bands that don't censor their album covers.
No, you know, because there was nothing offensive or misogynistic at all about that.
Exactly. Now back on the Cocked and Loaded tour in 1990, in the Texas show you guys played, upstairs there was monster trucks pulling. Gospel singing was in another room, and square dancing the next door. Was that one of the oddest concerts Ellie Guns have put on?
That's Texas for you. You know, the big farm state of Texas. Anything goes there.
No kidding. Now, there's a version of the debut album with drums redone by Stephen Riley. Would this ever see the light of day? Do you guys own the masters, or...?
You know, not even Steve's drums could save that record. It was, you know, that we spent a lot of money on that record. Mm-hmm. It was, you know, like it was a big polygram deal. We recorded at Village Recorder, the same studio that Fleetwood Mac and Elton John, and, you know, huge records have been made there. I couldn't understand why ours sounded so shit. It sounds like it was recorded in someone's bathroom. It just, we had a no-name producer that was in cahoots with the label, and it was part of the deal. That was like, you know, we were going to have to use, we were absolutely forced to use Jim Faraci. And what else has Jim Faraci done since, or you know, ever? And we were stuck with basically somebody that you know, didn't know how to make us sound good. I mean, we were in there doing the best we can, and I was, you know, scrambling, writing and rewriting, and so we thought that, you know, we could trust our producer and engineer. But in hindsight, when you listen to it, it's boxy. It's really, it sounds, it's very tinny, and it sounds like it was recorded like in a demo studio. And a lot of people go, well, it's got the good vibe. It's the vibe. It's the punk vibe. And fortunately for us, yeah, it does have that. And that you know, it makes it excusable, but I can't listen to it. And you know, when you hear Cocked and Loaded, sonically it's just so much better, because we had people who knew what they were doing, so yeah, I mean, Steve didn't play on it. It was Nicky B, or Nicky Alexander, whatever he was calling himself that week, and he. You know, Steve was always frustrated by that, because Nicky left right after we recorded it. And Steve, you know, was like, you know, I would love to have done that, but there's no point.
Didn't he do a rushed version of it?
But no, I mean, it's, you know, it's the first record's got things going for it, but sonically and drums aren't really one of them.
Fair enough. Now, any truth that when Tracy left Ellie Guns around the Hollywood Vampires era, the band considered calling themselves Ellie Nichols?
No. Nichols. That's something that Kelly would have come up with, I'm sure. No. We just kind of got used to Tracy coming and going, and just was like, oh, all right, he's gone, he'll be back, you know, and not freaking out, not like, you know, that's it, he's left. See, our namesake's gone, so we're gonna, you know, just call it a day. And that's what Tracy wanted us to do. And I was like, fuck that. And then we came out with, not Waking the Dead, the one after that, Tales. Mm-hmm. And so just to prove that, you know, we could do it with or without him. You know, Tracy's a brilliant guitarist, and he's a funny guy, and he's very charismatic, but, you know, he's not much of a songwriter, and he'll be the first to admit that. So, you know, I really enjoy writing songs, and Adam Hamilton and I, and Stacey, sat down, and we can do this.
Now, the song One More Reason, why is there two different versions with two different lyrics? In the home video, there's different lyrics than the studio version.
They were offended by my lyrics of the demo, and this is the same producer I'm talking about, Jim Faraci. Just couldn't bear it. It was just like, no, you can't say those things. It's too much. It's you know. So they made me go and do a censored version, and no big deal. I wasn't like, oh no, it's going to take the vibe. It was just, I had a lot of writing to do. You know, I had, you know, like, I'm doing all the lyrics, and you had already started. You know, there were more songs back then, you know. On the first record there are like 10 songs, but the band had about 18 or 20 songs, mm-hmm. and I didn't know what ones were going to get used and what weren't. So I was just working, scribbling lyrics, you know, all day, all waking day. I'd be sitting, you know, with my cassette player, just rewinding and trying different stuff, what would work. And, you know, I got no help from anyone. I was doing it entirely myself. So, you know, maybe I did go a little over the line. I don't know. I mean, I just didn't have time to be for those kind of sensibilities. I was just writing like crazy. And somebody got offended by it. You know, not the first time, probably not the last.
On the Vicious Circle topic, any truth that the album was originally presented without Tracy playing on the album, but Polygram wouldn't accept the album without Tracy playing on the album?
He didn't play on the album until the very, very end. You know, we were so dysfunctional at that time. Nobody wanted to be in the studio together. I was in there by myself, with Steve Dior, actually. Right. You know, when and they would call our producer Jim Wirt, and his job was to let the other guys know when the studio was clear, when it was free. And so you know, like Mick would come down or Kelly would come down, and you know, we didn't see Tracy until the very, very end. And I didn't actually even see him. I wasn't even there when he did his parts. And we didn't know if he was gonna, you know, he was bad-mouthing us in the press. He was making it clear that, you know, stupid things like, you know, Killing Machine's my babe, but Ellie Guns is just my boring old lady, and it was just talking such crap. So, you know, I wanted him out, and because I just wanted it, you know, to set him free. It didn't seem like he was happy, and the last thing I want to do is be in a band with somebody who's not happy being in a band. Mm-hmm. And it just like, we were musically just so completely opposite. You know, he was into Pantera, I was into Oasis. It doesn't get any further than that.
That's true.
And so yeah, it was. But you know, and then it was like after Vicious Circle, I was like, oh fuck it, I'm done, I'm out.
That being said, Vicious Circle turned out as a great album and a lot of fans' favorites. One of my favorite albums for sure.
I think Jim Wirt, the producer, did a fantastic job, and you know, he made us sound relevant. We were using drum loops and samples, and you know, some people, you know, called it a little bit Jesus Jones, but
I can see that.
It's it's just he was just a guy working on modern recording techniques, and I like the way they sound.
Mm-hmm. It seems like No Crime and Face Down, Killing Machine too were really well done.
Yeah.
Now, did being involved in Soon May Boogie, the theater company play, help you prepare for playing in front of a live audience?
Wow, that's ancient history. The theatre company was called Incubus, and I've tried to do a little research, but it was just too long ago. It was way before the internet. The guy that ran the theatre company, a guy called Paddy, I can't remember.
Hopkins.
Paddy Hopkins, yeah. I've looked, I can't find him. He was brilliant, just genius writer, and he was the front man in the band in the play, and. I passed the audition because they wanted somebody really basic, like it was a sort of punk chugging 3-chord songs, and that's about the extent of my playing. So I got the audition, and it was the first time I'd ever really played in a band with a drummer, with a bass player at the same time, and I really, really liked it, and we toured for a year and a half, and at that point, Paddy came and said, "Look, what do you want to do? Do you want? We're starting to write for the next play. Would you be interested in staying on as an actor? It's not going to be a musical." So I had to basically at that point decide whether I was going to be an actor or a musician. And so I was like, I'm thank you, Paddy, thank you for everything. Just gave me enough confidence to be able to put something together. I could never have done it without doing that. No, I did. We did 100 shows plus. So it got me into the touring and performing and the highs and lows of that. Mm-hmm. And I got addicted. I was way more into that than, who knows, if I'd stayed on acting, I would have been rubbing shoulders with Gary Oldman. It would have been about that same time.
Interesting.
But I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm about as good actor as I was a musician, so it was I basically had to start from scratch. But it was that was the really good times. I enjoyed it a lot, and it gave me confidence in myself. And it was a kick-ass play. There were no video cameras. There were nothing. It was dark ages back then. I would love to have a copy of it. Love to see it. But this must have been 76, 77, and unless you had a Super 8 movie camera, that's the only way you could record it.
Did your band Soldier ever record or release any material?
It wasn't my band. It was just some. I was in between bands at the time, and this band gave me a call and said, "Would I come up and do some demos?" And I had nothing else to do, so I just did the demos. I don't think we even played a show.
Interesting. A project with you or Andy or you and Spike down the road would be pretty awesome.
I mean, Andy's fallen off the planet now. I don't. He did the drugs one. Mm-hmm. And Spike, we're always talking about doing something. Me and Spike, that's that'd be great. But we live continents apart, so I don't know. I certainly wouldn't want to go. I wouldn't want to record a record in England. As far as England is concerned, I like to get in and out as quickly as possible. I like it. I like to visit and see my old friends, but it's a bubble. It's a bubble that I got out of, and I can go back there and I can see people and I be in it, but I know that I don't belong there. I know, and that's not. So I'm never going to get back in that bubble, and that's fine. It's just I just knew from a very early age that I needed to be in America. I needed to be American, and that was where my destiny.
Absolutely. Well, that's all I have, Phil.
That's
Thank
great.
you very much.
Fantastic questions, Ryan, and your research is impeccable, I must say. It's like I haven't spoken about the theatre company and Soldier in really a really long time, and it's good. You know, I'm proud of that stuff that I did. But as I say, it's too bad that you know there isn't now. You know, now there's with the internet and you know and you can do a profile on somebody, on you, me, just on their online activity. You know, you can like you know look it up and you can put something together, a pretty good profile on someone. But prior to that, then you don't really exist. You know, you just weren't. You just didn't exist before that. You know, and I think that's a shame. It's a great shame. It's a tragedy, actually. You know, and now, you know, I remember my first video camera. I think I had to put it on my shoulder, if I remember right. It had a big VHS tape on it, and now it's on a freaking phone. You know, we've come so far. You know, when my first tours with Ellie Guns, we'd get on the bus, and we'd be gone for 2 years. And we didn't have cell phones, and we didn't have pagers. We had phone cards. You'd get a card, and it had a bunch of numbers on it. And we had the highest tech you got was an answer machine. And you'd come home, and you'd have like 60 messages. And we've come so far, you know, to be able to text my girlfriend when I'm in Norway. Yeah, you know, it's unheard of. You know, the money that I used to spend on phone calls, international phone calls, was just I'd lose money on tours because of my phone bills. And then in the old days, when you know the original dial-up came up, they used to charge you by the minute for internet.
Right, I remember that.
And you know, it was me and Tracy. We'd get like you know $400 phone bill for one night. Just you know, just to be online, just to check your email. Yeah, come a long way. We really, really have come a long way in communications. You know, the phones got smarter, people got dumber.
It's a tragedy. The filming of Cocked and Lowered wasn't filmed with Ted Nugent in the studio. Cheap Trick.
It's all in there.
Well, that's true.
But yeah, you know, that would have been great. It would have been great, you know, and even the studio that we recorded, that's gone, you know. It's a shame. It's very sad, but, you know, when I do put my book together, I'm going to be very descriptive about things like that, you know, how Ted was. Ted was so nice to us. And you know, he was take us out on tour and take us out for these big antelope steaks that his buddies were hunting, and he was really, really a nice guy. And I get a little sad, you know. He's perceived as being such an asshole because he's not. You know, he's a bit of a redneck, but we always knew that. But he's not an asshole at all. He's really generous, really good guy, and. You know, real gentleman. On tour, you know, he did. You know, a lot of people weren't nice. Billy Squire was a dick, but Ted was great. How you guys? You know, you want to come out? I'm getting some steaks afterwards. You want to come with us, hang out? Yeah, good man.
Very cool.
Well, thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Phil.
Very nice.